radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Well. Good evening. How you doing? It's Fade to Black. That's right. Today is Monday, September 1st, 2025. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Yeah, and most of you have taken the day off. That is fantastic. Maybe you even had a 4-day weekend. That's even more amazing. I did not. Nope, but you're here joining us tonight, and we've got an amazing show coming up, and we've got another amazing week on Fade to Black. Of course, tonight, the one and only Christopher Dunn is with us. We're going to be talking about Giza, the Great Pyramid, and all of his past research, current research, and what is going on there right now. Tomorrow night, George Haas joins us. We're going to be talking about what's on Mars. And then Wednesday night, best-selling author Rebecca Pittman is here, and we're going to be talking about her 2 favorite, most chilling hauntings in America. That's Wednesday night. Thursday night, Jason McLean joins us, and we are going to be talking about Bigfoot and goat men in Texas. Yeah, man, that's Thursday night. What a great week on Fade to Black. Now, I do have 6 major events coming up, all of them in 2026. I've cleared the calendar for the rest of this year with international and national travel, so I can just focus on Beyond Belief. I have to film that show every month, and I just want to get my feet on the ground and figure stuff out. But next year, it's getting back into the cycle of things, and we kick things off with the Conscious Life Expo, and that is February 20th through the 23rd at the LAX Hilton, and then the Contact Modalities Expo, May 1st through the 3rd in Delavan, Wisconsin at the Delavan Lake Resort. Then I'm back here for Contact in the Desert, May 28th through June 1st. Tickets on sale this Thanksgiving Day. Then I head back to Peru for the Inca Celebration of the Sun, the winter solstice. That is July 23rd through July 1st, 2026. I come back from that and then head over to the UK for the Monty Python Tour of Scotland, August 1st through the 9th, 2026. I come back from that and turn around and head back to Peru and Easter Island with Brian Forrester. And the links for everything that I'm doing in 2026 are below in the description over on our website and throughout social media. All right. So here we go. Tonight, Christopher Dunn is back with us. Very important show tonight for a lot of different reasons. All of them point to the same thing. And that is, of course, Christopher's research that he has done with the Giza Plateau that go back a few decades now. And, of course, focused on the Great Pyramid and its role as an energy source. And right now, today, with all of the breaking news about what is underneath Giza and what it may represent is not only viral right now, it is tremendous and it is very exciting stuff, but how these researchers and so many others that have been looking at different theories about Giza and the pyramids have been referencing and pointing back to the work of Christopher Dunn. And he has inspired so many to go and think differently. His book, The Giza Power Plant, which I have here, is a must read for anybody doing this. Of course, he's been on the History Channel, the Travel Channel, the Discovery Channel, the Learning Channel. He has been doing it all and rolling that rock uphill for a very long time. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black the one and only Christopher Dunn. He's right there. Christopher, Man, how do you follow up an
Hey,
introduction
Jimmy.
like that? How do you do that? How do you follow up an introduction like that?
I think you said it all. We can fade to black right now. It
Yeah, I know, right? Right. It was a great show. Great having you back.
was a great show.
It
Thank
was
you,
a great
Jimmy.
show.
I appreciate the warm welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. We've been friends for a long time, and but I just want to ask you personally, from friend to friend,
Right.
how does it feel after 3+ decades of doing this work, to turn around and have all of this exciting breaking news that seems to be happening every day around Giza and Egypt in general, but to have so many people go, well, okay, but Christopher Dunn, okay, that's fine, but Christopher Dunn, after fighting the good fight for so long, how does that make you feel?
Um, at first I was very uncomfortable with it, and I'm still not. I'm still just a little uncomfortable because the old saying is beware of what you wish for because you might get it. And so, there's always a two edges to that sword. So you have a modicum of success, but then you've got other things that are going on at the same time that you have to deal with. And so it was actually, what do you want to focus on? And I think when this started to explode or open up, I think it was in the late, before 2000, about 1990, no, sorry, 2018, around that period of time. The Scan Pyramid mission was conducted in 2017, and they revealed this huge void above the Grand Gallery, and then things started to really open up about that time. There's a lot of YouTube was had evolved to become a major source for kind of like a cottage industry where people from their homes could actually make a living making content for YouTube. And so there was a lot of new players who came into the space, and were some of them doing great work. And it was shocking to me because I never expected YouTube, for one thing. I never expected to it to be so popular, and and I kind of shrunk away from it, to tell you the truth. And I became a little more reclusive, and tried to deal with most of the negative stuff, because along with that you get the haters and the trolls that will come after you. And I think it all depends on what you want to focus on. Do you want to focus on the good or the bad? And I'm afraid I was focusing more on the bad, and all the nasty comments and all the lies that were being told about me. And and so that affected me. But
all let me just say this. All you ever did was just throw an idea and a theory out there and said, hey, here's the evidence.
right.
Let's go and check it out. That's it. And
Yeah.
all of the great moments in science and history where we made jumps was somebody that was thinking differently.
Oh,
right?
for sure.
They weren't thinking inside. No, they went outside and let their mind go to say, okay, well, there might be something else to think about and to consider here. And all of those great moments are because of that. And that's all that you've done. You haven't done anything different than the way science has evolved in the past, did you?
Not really, no. I mean, it was basically asking a question, and And the question was, no, I wasn't certainly not the first one to ask it. And the question was the Great Pyramid really a tomb? And there were quite a few that were questioning that theory and were offering alternate opinions of what the Great Pyramid could have been built for. And so I looked at it as from a mechanical engineering perspective, and you know, when you look at the architecture of the Great Pyramid, it looks more like a machine than it does a building for human habitation or use. And so I thought, well, you know, it's a very large building, 2.3 million blocks of stone. It weighs almost 6 million tons. An incredible amount of work went into it. It must have been extremely important for the civilization that built it. And, you know, just to build one today, how much would it cost? You know, I have had estimates of $25 billion to build the Great Pyramid.
Right. Yeah.
But I suspect that those costs would probably escalate a little bit, depending on, you know, the regulators, of course. But, you know, it's like just the investment into building it speaks to a very, very important purpose that gives the population a return on that investment. And so you know, if we are looking at it in through a modern looking glass, a perspective in which you know, Egyptologists and archaeologists hate us to do that. You can't think in modern terms when we're looking at ancient cultures. But if you look at just the practical aspects and the technology that would have been necessary to build it, you're looking at a civilization that was far advanced than what we've been told. And what they expressed in the Great Pyramid was a state of the art that was far greater than anything that we had accomplished at the time it was being first measured properly by early explorers like William Flinders Petrie and Piazzi Smythe and a few other explorers who were taking measurements in the Great Pyramid. So yeah, you have an edifice that looks like a machine, and it has the precision of a machine, only on the scale of acres. It's like, you know, the fit and finish of the limestone blocks when you look on the inside, in the say the Queen's Chamber, the King's Chamber, the Grand Gallery. There's like line to line. There's no gap between the blocks. You can't even fit a piece of paper in between it, and so, you know, with that kind of precision and accuracy, what kind, you know, the builders, the designers must have been extremely demanding, and so I looked at it as the pinnacle of a civilization's accomplishment, and that's a civilization like that must have been highly intelligent, and a population that would support such a building would not support it for just to house a pharaoh or a body.
Well, you know, the basic idea that has been laid out there, the dogma, I'll say the dogma, I'll do it.
Right.
I'll say it a few times tonight, but the dogma that's been laid out there, that's been turned into truth, you know, that's what dogma always does. You know, you
Right.
say it enough times and then it just becomes fact and truth. But the dogma, the idea that primitive Stone Age man stumbled out of the Sahara Desert one day wearing animal skins, right? And then the next day, hey, you know, let's just level off. Yeah. Let's just level off this limestone hilltop, perfectly level, and
Yeah.
let's just build the biggest shit ever in the history of everything, and let's make it perfect. And
Right.
you go through, like you said, you go through the Grand Gallery and you look, and that's supposed to be primitive Stone Age man. That
Yeah. No.
they go from foraging seeds in the desert for dinner, right? One day, and the
Right.
next day, just building these perfect things. No, I think we're smarter these days. You know, we look at
Well.
that and then we consider the dogma. And
Right.
no, there's something else going on here. And I think that's where we are today, due to, people like you that have been steadfastly presenting this and not giving up.
Yes, but now I'm being joined by millions of similar types of people with similar skills, machinists, tool makers, engineers, those who look at artifacts in Egypt and say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, you couldn't make them by hand; they had to have been made by machines." And then you look at the dogma that you're talking about, and basically it is like the Egyptians started out crafting these products using copper chisels and stone chisels and wooden pounders or stone pounders, and then 3,000 years later, because the Egyptian civilization lasted 3,000 years, right? 3,000 years later, they're still using the same tools. And they hadn't advanced their tools significantly at all. That is, it just doesn't make any sense. Anybody who would propose such a thing, I don't know what's going on in their mind. I mean, to say, yeah, the Egyptians, they started out with these tools, and then 3,000 years later, they're still using the same tools. Are we still using the same tools that we were using 50 years ago? No, we're not.
We're simply not.
Anyway.
No, that's a really, really great point, Chris. And there's another part that I do want to get into this really deeply. We've got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. But when you go back and look at, one of my favorite things to do was watch those early videos. And I was watching your stuff in the very beginning, but my favorite thing to do was to wait for the moment when you would go, okay, let me get my square out. Let me get my level out. Let me get, you pop it on the side of something. And that's what we needed, because we didn't have a perspective to look at things that way, with that type of precision, to think of something that was, a billiard table flat, smooth like glass, not one piece. The frigging entire country is built. You know what I mean? It's yeah, and we needed that from you. What's Chris going to pull off his tool belt next? And but that's what we needed, and that's that, to go against the dogma, and you did that for us.
Well, I'm still doing it. There's more to be done, but I mean, as far as what has been uncovered lately, everything is just it's convincing. The Egyptians are now jumping on board and accepting these ideas that they will rewrite their own history. And I've always said,
okay, now this is where I just interrupted you twice, but this is important. Okay, so let's get into this. In that, what you had very early on suggested through your research and applying the science to it, was there was something going on underneath the Great Pyramid, whether it was drawing up chemistry, drawing up water. There was something underneath that was coming up into the Great Pyramid and then creating energy, and with the combination of things, with chemistry, and the magic was happening. Well, that's exactly what is being suggested right now today. But you have been doing this for a very long time. So this is the question. When you entered the Great Pyramid, how did it feel to you versus your ideas and your research, and the way that it felt to you as you entered the Grand Gallery, and well, of course, the subterranean chamber and the Queen's chamber and so forth. But what was the impact on you at that time versus the thoughts that you were having?
Well, actually, the first time I went to Egypt, I was very nervous about going into the Great Pyramid because I'd already had developed the theory on its purpose. Not completely, but just the bones of it were the framework I had already written down. And so I was nervous about going in because this was like where the rubber meets the road, and basically, is everything going to be the same, as far as what I had read in the literature. But what happened was when I went in 1986, another very important attribute to the pyramid impressed itself on me, and that was just the feel of the place. And you don't get that when you're sitting in your armchair in front of your computer at home, dreaming up ideas on what it was for. But the added dimension of the that is kind of unquantifiable in a way. It's how it affects you as a person. That is a significant benefit if you're doing research on the Great Pyramid. So what happened was I came out inspired. Came out of the pyramid inspired. I had not seen anything that would divert me from my path. And in fact, I was encouraged by some of the things that I noted that I didn't know about, particularly in the King's Chamber, because I was still struggling with the purpose of the shafts in the King's Chamber, and actually being there and noting the opening in the south wall, which is critical, and then the north wall, that kind of cemented everything that all my thoughts about what their purpose was as wave guides. And so, yeah, that was a significant trip. The unfortunate thing at that time was I didn't have any tools with me. I had been, I had.
You didn't bring the tool belt. You didn't bring.
I didn't bring my tool belt. No, I had nothing with me, and I'm just there to observe. And so I vowed, when I left Egypt that time, that the next time I went, I will take some tools to take measurements. And one of the measurements I wanted to take was the radio frequency emission from the granite, if there was any. And also the shape of the opening in the south wall of the King's Chamber, and it was shaped like a catcher's mitt. It's like a horn antenna, and that particular opening fits with the opening in the north wall, where that has the dimensions that would be suitable for a microwave waveguide for hydrogen, because of the dimensions. For a hydrogen microwave, a waveguide, suitable waveguide would be the wavelength, and then by half the wavelength, or approximately half the wavelength. So hydrogen's 8.309 inches, and the width of the opening in the north wall was 8.4 inches, and then the height was 4.8 inches. And and so with all the other research that I did, I was able to, and with some help, because it wasn't just, I didn't just dream up the function of it. I definitely had help in confirming my intuition on what it was used for. Aerospace engineer Eric Wilson was a great help to me. There was an engineer from a local company who talked about the waveguides, and there's a guy on our Lost Technologies tour in 2018 who was a microwave waveguide specialist. And so all of these people have contributed to my understanding of the technology, and in their own specialized way. But as far as the tool belt, mostly, you mentioned the square and the straight edge. When I was there the first time, I was walking around the Giza Plateau, and I was looking at these blocks of stone just laying around haphazardly, and I was like, well, that surface looks rather precise, but I couldn't say how precise it was. And so, I made a mental note at that time. Oh, the next time I come back, I'm going to have to bring something to see how
to that block right there. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back to that block and check it out. And so, it was an interesting path, but it was like peeling an onion, Jimmy. It's like you take one layer off at a time, you cry a little bit, and then you go for another layer.
Can we back up the car a little bit? You brought up the shafts, and which have always caught my attention. But here's my twisted way of thinking, though. The shafts are obviously done with intent, but building the shafts, that's a whole nother consideration. People don't stop and think enough about the importance of that. Right. They can, 2.5 million blocks. Okay. All right. Well, as they are building that pyramid, they had to build those blocks and place them, building the shafts at the same time, right, at an angle, right? So, and there's not just one; there are shafts all over the place, and that had to, and so where are the blueprints for this? Who was the boss? This is my twisted mind, Chris. Who is the boss that is standing at each level, right? Guiding the design of those shafts. Yeah, the King's Chamber. Yes, the Queen's. Yes. Oh, yeah, I get the tunnel. Yes, at the Grand Gallery. You know what? Those shafts, those were a pain in the ass. Well, think about the difficulty of doing those while building the pyramid. They were very, very, very important, just as important as everything else in the construction of the Great Pyramid. And that's the case that I like to present, but it's not talked about enough, is it?
Well, no, because it's very detailed, and it's engineering based, and it involves geometry, because you have compound angles on the end of blocks that come together and meet another block, but they both have a U-shaped channel in them, and the U-shaped channel has to match. So it's kind of like a geometric puzzle. Plus, they're on an angle, like you said. You want to pull up that one image that shows the northern shaft? I think it's one after that, I believe. Yes, that one there. And so you see that the green rectangular feature there, that is the northern shaft. And the fascinating thing about the northern shaft is the multiple bends. And the multiple bends are necessary for the function of a waveguide. And as it was described to me by Eric Wilson, generally you would need multiple bends. What what it does, it modifies the trajectory of the microwave beam, so that it enters the chamber perpendicular.
It controls it.
Right. But here's the other thing, though, Jimmy. You have you have a condition there where the shaft. It is said that it has to miss the outside of the grand gallery, so it can't interfere with the grand gallery. So they directed it around it. But there's two questions that we need to ask when you consider that idea, and that is, why does the shaft have to come in exactly at that spot? You could put a shaft coming into the chamber halfway down it, and you don't have to have all those bends, and it would just go straight up.
If it's a ventilation shaft,
right?
You don't want those bends. You don't want those bends, because then it can't ventilate.
Right. And so that brings in a bit of science and physics. So you have a resonating, cavity, and a standing wave in the cavity, say an acoustic wave. The greatest amplification on the wave is at the quarter wave point. And so that shaft enters the chamber exactly at the quarter wave of the length of the chamber. And so you have, it was necessary for them to direct that microwave into the chamber exactly where it would increase the energy, or that it would meet the greatest amount of energy and carry it across the chamber into the southern shaft.
Absolutely. Let's go with this. Let's stay on the subject.
Right.
This is the first image. So I'm pulling this up for everybody, and you can see the four shafts here in relation to both the Queen's Chamber and the King's Chamber,
right,
and then where the Grand Gallery is. And here's one other point that I want to add that you mentioned earlier. We now know that there is another void, another room, another chamber above the King's Chamber that isn't represented here. I would ask.
No, it's not above the King's Chamber. It's above.
No, I mean above the Grand Gallery. Above the Grand Gallery. And does that change? Does that add or reinforce your theory about how this operates? If there is an additional chamber, well, there is. We just haven't been into it yet. Above the Grand Gallery.
Well, I'll tell you a story about that. I was working with Robert Vorter, who is a sound engineer, and we were driving along, and I get a call come in, and Eric Wilson is on the phone. Eric Wilson had just seen the scan pyramid mission results, and the void that they had discovered. And people had emailed me. I got lots of emails. Every time something happens around the pyramid, I get emails. Well, what do you think of this? What this kind of supports your theory? How does it fit with your theory? And with this new void that they discovered, my response was that it's not really clearly defined. The point cloud that had been revealed by the muon scans didn't show a very high resolution. And so, before going out on a limb and saying something, that would turn into be, totally off the wall or incorrect, I'd rather reserve my judgment until they have physically accessed the space to see what's inside it, take measurements, and photographs. And then Eric calls and he says, I know what that's for. And I said, well, what's it for, Eric? And he said, that's your preamp.
Oh, I like that.
And he said that the only thing that was wrong with your theory is that it didn't have a preamp. I'd always thought, and I think I told you it needed a preamp, and you kind of ignored me. I was like, well, I might have. It might not have registered with me. But the
well, for everybody to understand what Chris just said, that if you have an amplifier, for it to function, you have to have a preamp in front of it. And
right. So
yes, yeah, that's
so you have a signal coming in the electromagnetic spectrum at 8.309 inches wavelength, and you boost the signal through the preamp. But the interesting thing is that this void exists right where the north shaft comes into the king. Oh, not where it comes into, but above the grand gallery. So it would pass very close by, whether the void is on the side of the shaft or it surrounds the shaft. But then I asked Eric, I said, well, what would it need inside in order to function as a preamp? And he said, well, all you would need to have inside it would be quartz crystals, and then an electrical connection to the shaft. So so that it would feed, it would be actually absorbing the energy and building up a charge, and the signal coming in would pick up that energy before it enters the king's chamber.
What did you make of Gate and Brink and all of that original research? When that, I got to tell you, the original videos and the original reveal, which was, by the way, Chris, we were talking about this earlier before the show.
Right.
It was before the modern internet. And like one of the first websites in the history of the World Wide Web was the Gate and Brink's door, right?
Yeah.
And somehow the video got posted, and which back then, it you know what I mean? It was like and I was glued to it, but then the research stopped and we had to wait for it to kick back up. And I was so sucked in and drawn in to that entire project, but we had to wait years for the follow-up on that. But if we go back to the original, this and for those that don't know, I'll let Chris tell the story, but Gate and Brink and the research team built these little robots, little cars with cameras on them, with long cables that came off the back of them so they could control them and receive the video feed that went up into the shafts. And it was the most insane until it ended, right? Remember that Gate and Brink's door? Right. Take us back to that moment, because that was a really, really big deal when it came to the shaft and shaft research. What was going through your mind?
Well, I think at the time it was the exploration of the Queen's Chamber southern shaft, and there's been no indication of any exit point for the Queen's Chamber shafts on the outside, and so basically this exploration would determine if they indeed went to the outside or not. But before that exploration, I had already established, or theorized, that because of the opening to the Queen's Chamber, or the way the design of the shaft coming into the Queen's Chamber, it does not penetrate fully into the chamber. It didn't originally. It was there was limestone that was left, and then it was hammered out, chiseled out in 1872, I think. Wayman Dixon discovered it. He actually noticed a crack in the wall, pushed a rod through the crack, It went quite far into the wall, so he suspected that there may be something behind it, or he was going, that there may be something behind it. And he had it chiseled out, and they found this about a 9-inch square opening going horizontally for a while, and then up on an angle to who knows? They didn't know, to nowhere. And so that was that. It was that way for, I don't know, 100 years. Was it 100 years? Probably 100 years. That we knew. Yeah, we knew about the. Yeah, it was 100. We knew about the shaft, but we didn't know where it ended. 1993, Gantenbrink was brought in by the German archaeological mission to explore the shafts, so do some cleaning of the shafts and install ventilation, specifically in the King's Chamber, which he did. He installed a fan in the north and south, fans in the north and south shaft. And then he proposed to the Egyptian government that he explore the southern shaft in the Queen's Chamber, because just to determine where it went. And that video, it was in the hands of, I think it was Robert Bobal, who took it to the BBC or took it to some film company. And a video was broadcast to the world on this exploration. I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, we all were. It was crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy. And then when he got to the end of the shaft, it was quite remarkable in that you had these metal fittings coming out of this limestone plate. Now, a lot of people, I think Zahi Hawass has described it as a door. It's only 8-9 inches in measurement, and so very, very small door. But it's not a door. Gantenbrink himself did not claim that it was a door. He called it a USO, which means unidentified stone object, not a door. So
right.
So I think that that was a cute little term. But those metal fittings, I was sitting with a friend, Jeff Summers, in his living room. We were watching it together, and he looked at that and he said, they look like electrodes. And I was like, bingo. Because what I had proposed, what I was proposing in my book that had not been published yet, was that the Queen's Chamber shaft fed a chemical into the Queen's Chamber through the south shaft and the north shaft. Those chemicals mixed and boiled off hydrogen, which was used in the King's Chamber to convert to microwave energy. And so the hydrogen is manufactured in the Queen's Chamber and then converted to electromagnetic energy in the King's Chamber. But the interesting thing was, when I wrote my book, I had described, or I'd wrote a drawing. I created a drawing and had the thickness of the stone through which those metal fittings come through at about 3.6 inches. And in 2002, the Pyramid rover did an exploration and drilled through that block, and they measured it before they drilled it, and they measured it to be about 3.25 inches. So it was very close to my measurements. And then you have another exploration in 2010 where they were able to put a snake kind of camera through that hole that could articulate around and actually look backwards on what was the back of that particular stone object. I have proposed in the Giza power plant that they were electrodes, and that they would be a continuation of wiring or some kind of connection to another device that would signal for the shaft to fill. And the the drilling that took place in 2002, they used an endoscope camera which just pointed straight ahead, and it had kind of like a fisheye lens to it. And so the light, it did not illuminate the entire space. And then in 2010, when they were able to articulate around, the back of the door, they saw that these metal fittings came through and they curled around and disappeared back into the door. So it was like a complicated little mechanism. And there were these red ochre markings on the floor of the shaft. There were some very unusual erosion patterns on the electrodes. I call them electrodes. That kind of signified that they had anode cathode activity, electrical flow, and so
Yeah,
I felt
they were leaching. They were leaching from a chemical process.
right. So and then the erosion of these electrodes signified that the chemical that I had. A chemical engineer had given me two chemicals to create hydrogen, a dilute hydrochloric acid and a hydrated zinc solution. And when those two chemicals are brought together, you create hydrogen. And so with the south shaft carrying the dilute hydrochloric acid, that would erode the electrodes and also erode the limestone of the shaft walls and ceiling. And you find in the lower section of the shaft of the south shaft in the Queen's Chamber heavily eroded limestone. It's like
can I pull up the image of the south shaft that we have here?
That is, yeah. Sorry, I don't have the Queen's Chamber shafts in that package. That is the south shaft of the King's Chamber.
Oh, this is the catcher's mitt. You're right.
Yeah, that I describe as like a horn antenna, microwave horn antenna. But going back to the Queen's Chamber, you have extreme erosion. A person can do a Google search and find photographs of the southern shaft. They can also go to my website at gizapower.com and read about the history of my involvement and evolving ideas on what is behind Ganton Brink Store. So that's well documented there, and it's also documented in my new book, Giza, the Tesla Connection. So yeah, the Ganton Brink affair was extremely important. I think he definitely contributed a lot to humanity. His name goes down with Howard Vyse and his discovery of the granite beams above the King's Chamber. Very significant discovery.
Now, and I don't want to dwell on this, but the comment needs to be made where the Orthodox Egyptologists, you fill in the blank in the name, but that will and have said and who have contributed to the dogma over the years that there's nothing left to discover in any of the pyramids. There's nothing left. And as it turns out, the opposite is true. There's a lot to be discovered. It is continuing to be discovered. And now's not the time to take our foot off the gas, is it?
Well, I don't think, yeah, I mean, no, it is not, in answer to your question. And the energies that and the forces that are pushing this forward now, it seems almost unstoppable. The cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle, the toothpaste is out of the tube, and none of it's going back in, right? And so it's going to just keep growing. It just keeps going,
Now,
I mean,
we're going to come up against a break here. When we come back, we'll jump into SARS. But leading into that right now, I just had Trevor Grassi on the show, and I have, way before all of this, my imagination, I should say, I always kind of leaned on the idea that, yes, there's obviously purpose behind all of these structures on the Giza Plateau, but they could all be built on top of something else, and that the function is greater than what we are looking at here. We have to consider all of this. And of course, some of those ideas came from your book and your research, but the subterranean chamber for me was always one of the pieces to this puzzle, suggesting that the pyramid was there on top of a greater function. And you come along and started to push this idea forward, but that's exactly what is going on here, isn't it? And it would suggest high technology of a magnitude that we have a hard time understanding and wrapping our head around, that these primitive cultures suggested to us to being primitive culture were certainly the opposite of that, right?
Oh, yeah, far from primitive. Yeah. I mean, the culture that is calling this culture primitive are themselves the primitive ones in comparison, I would say. To no imagination, and I find that a lot with like academics. They're slaves to the book, what has been written, and homage has to be given to ideas. I'm from an industry where things are shaken up continually, and if you are not breaking things, then you're not really doing your job. You have to remake things and you have to stay ahead of the competition. So while dogma is a natural tendency in evolving in manufacturing with overseas competition, you cannot rest on your laurels and do things the same way that you've been doing for 30 years. You have to change. Change is inevitable, and I think that's what makes people uncomfortable is the changes. They don't like their world disrupted, and so they will fight against it tooth and nail. But that's common, though, isn't it? I mean, it's common going back all the way back to Copernicus and Galileo. I mean,
that's right. So, no, how many times do we have to have history repeat ourselves before we snap out of the fog? And let me, I just had this up for a while, but I'm going to pull this image back up.
Okay.
It is crazy. Until you see it with your own eyes, you cannot appreciate it. But the shaft that goes down to the subterranean chamber, when you go and you look, descending it and ascending it, that's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother. But when you look down that shaft and you see the utter precision the engineering of that shaft cut through the limestone bedrock, it is an engineering marvel, and that is not built to be wasted. To well, it's just going down to an unfinished room, man. You need to stop with that dogma. That it's a beautiful shaft built with such purpose.
I'll put some dimensions on that shaft for you. Okay, so on the descending passage from the original opening, it was measured. I think it was Petrie that did the measure, and over 150 feet length of the shaft going through the constructed portion of the pyramid. The shaft is within 20 thousandths of an inch, which is the thickness of a thumbnail. That's how precise it is. Over 150 feet. Over the total 350 feet through both the constructed portion and the excavated portion, it's only out a quarter of an inch.
Insane. It's perfect. It's perfect. When you see it with your own eyes, it is dead nuts straight. Yeah. And you know what? Dead nuts is an engineering term. You can look it up.
Well, I'm familiar with it, Jimmy.
Yes, you are. But going in comparison to my comments and your comments about all of the shafts that are going out of the king's and the king's chamber and the queen's chamber, the descending passage and its perfection has the pyramid is built on top of that, and it takes all of this into consideration in its design, and you have to see it to understand it. It is an engineering. I use the word marvel, but it's perfect. It's perfect. You cannot. It is as straight as a laser when you look at it with your own eyes.
Yeah, it's received some wear over the centuries, but it's quite a feat of engineering.
How do let me ask you one thing, and we'll take a break. But how do you consider what is going through I'm going to say employees, right? The workers that are building that shaft, on how they are completing it with such precision, without, if we go with the dogma, no electric lighting, right? No, they're down there with chicken bones, right? Digging through limestone bedrock. How they completed this, to continue and to have it utterly straight and perfect. How did they do it? How did they pull it off?
I don't think that the shaft was quarried or cut by hand. Sometimes you need a machine to build another machine, and when you consider the logistics of driving a rectangular shaft that's only about 41 inches, 350 feet into the bedrock, it's like, well, to do it by hand would be impossible. You would need to have a system where, similar to like a tunnel boring machine, except this would be remote. It would be carving out the stone, and that stone, would be ejected, or it would be brought to the surface and just bulldozed over to the hillside. Then, when you reach the bottom, there are other features there that are more specialized. You may have some human intervention down there, but I don't go with the notion that they did not have lighting, that the only lighting they had would be, a torch. So,
I mean, I know that I seem like I'm dwelling on this, but when you see it for yourself, and understand it's also, by the way, it's a dangerous tunnel. That is not a fun thing to experience, to climb through that and down to the bottom. It's very tight. It's very, although it's straight and it's beautiful and it's perfect, two people passing each other in that tunnel is
it's pretty tight. And the
Yeah.
other thing is air quality. If
Mhm.
you got if you're making any progress at all with your stone hammer, then you're raising a lot of dust. So you got
Yeah,
PPE.
and then here's my twisted. But then when you're down there, and then you allow the claustrophobic, overwhelming thought about what is above you. That's a lot of weight. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It is crazy, and it all lines up. It all lines up. It's
I mean, just the positioning of it, the dimensions, the placement of it. It's all as your new show, Beyond Belief.
Yeah.
But it was done.
Yeah, it was beyond belief. Nicely done. Wow, that lined up. That lined up as well as the Southern Shaft.
I mean, that's a good segue for you to go get another cup of coffee, isn't it?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take our break. Our guest tonight, the one and only Christopher Dunn, is with us. We've got everything that is going on right now in Giza, and of course, all of his work over the years. And we're doing all of that tonight here on Fade to Black. Chris, you stay right there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Backley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut.
Jimmy Church Guy TV, Fade to Black.
here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, our guest, Christopher Dunn, is with us. So much is happening right now, not only in Giza, but around Giza and Egypt. So many discoveries are being made, and it's a great time. Just when you think, and what I enjoy about this community and everything that we do is that as soon as things start to simmer down, you got something else. And that's what's going on right now. Giza is very exciting, and it's the work of so many over the years, like Christopher Dunn, that now Christopher gets to, Christopher, you can go, see, you're not doing that. I'll do it for you. But it's an opportunity to go, look, I was just throwing these ideas out there, but now we've got all of this other research that comes along. And the question is an obvious one. I'm going to do it right now. What do you make of these discoveries and the SARS project and the Coppery project? And is it supporting and lining up with your research?
I was asked that question, and I was asked to comment on the work of Filippo Biondi and others. And basically, I was hopeful but a little skeptical at first. And
you have to be, right? You can't jump in the deep end of the pool on this one.
The one interesting thing, and the thing that that I am in alignment with, is that in Giza, the Tesla connection, I introduced the work of John Cadman and his work on the subterranean chamber being a hydraulic pulse generator. And he had performed an experiment. He'd built a model on his property. He modeled the descending passage through which water flowed from a pond, and then flowed through the model of the subterranean chamber, which he had built and encased in concrete, and then down to a catchment pond that had a flapper valve on it. And basically, by feeding the water through there, he claimed that it had a pulse, and that the whole, the model would actually shake when as there was a backflow of energy or a wave when the valve closed, and it would pulse. So he invited me out to his property. I went out first in 2005, and again in 2000. I think it was 2011 when I went back. But 2005, I went out and I met at his property a hydraulic engineer, and John was a very hospitable host, and we had breakfast in his house, and then it was raining at the time. We went out to where his model was installed on a hillside to see its operation. He, opened up a few valves and allowed the water to flow through, then closed off at one valve, and then the water was redirected another way down into the catchment pond, and then the magic happened. I just felt the ground thumping beneath my feet. But the interesting thing, the thing that really impressed me, was that it pulsed like a heartbeat. And it was, I timed the pulses, and it was like 60 pulses per second. So it's like a baby's heartbeat, but it was going thud, 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 like that. And the ground was shaking beneath my feet because the pipe, I was walking down the path, and the pipe going down to the pond below, it was vibrating under my feet. And so I was very impressed with that. There was a couple of things that he refined on his model, and I think he installed it somewhere else on his property. But one of the things that I had noted was that in order for his model to function, it would need an exit point from the subterranean chamber. His proposal was that the water would flow down to where the Sphinx enclosure is and empty out at that point there. But there's no exit from the subterranean chamber. They have been, the two areas, the most likely areas, are a very long passageway in the south wall, and then there is a deep shaft, a well kind of shaft in the center, not the center, but in the floor. Both of those were the well shaft was excavated by Howard Vise, and they could not find any exit or any opening from there. And the horizontal shaft through the south, there was no opening or any sign that an opening existed, but had been blocked off. So that basically is the condition of it. Now, I'm not saying, I think that the Tesla earthquake machine is a more likely technology that existed in the subterranean chamber. But in my book, I noted that the Giza Plateau is reported to be riddled with tunnels and shafts. I mean, you can walk around and you find all these deep shafts in different areas. Some are heavily eroded, others are not. And then it's reported that there are horizontal shafts and vertical shafts. So I proposed in my book that perhaps the big daddy of, I call it the big daddy of pulse generators, was deep under the Giza Plateau, and it was serving the entire area. So it wasn't just focused on one particular pyramid, the Great Pyramid, but all pyramids were functioning in the same way. And so that's essentially, that was my response. responded to a lot of the questions on Facebook, and also wrote an article for my website. Now, as far as the SAR scans, I'm not qualified to judge that work. I have questions about about how the raw data that was gathered by the satellite could actually reveal the very precise and sharp geometry that have been published along with it. But I still have questions about that, and I will have the opportunity at the end of this month to talk to Filippo Bionde, Armando Ma, and Trevor Grassi, who I've come to know and respect. I respect their passion, their work, their dedication. And so I will hopefully have my questions answered then. And this is at the Global Pyramid Conference in Wadsworth, Illinois.
Yep.
It's in the Golden Pyramid House. So it's a pyramid
That's right.
conference in a pyramid.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's September 27th, I think.
26th through the 29th.
Yeah. And now here's the thing with that, because I was grappling with the same issues that you are. I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I can kind of grasp technology if it's explained to me right. But looking at SARS and how it was applied, I couldn't quite, because we're talking about 2 kilometers, right? It's like, wait a minute here. But Bionde and the way that he explains it, and the way that Trevor's got a difficult task on his hands too, as well, as explaining a technology that he doesn't fully understand too, as well, because of how it is tied together, and it's software driven with data that's collected from satellites over a broad area of land. Okay. All right. So, but putting all of that to the side, here is what is incredible for me is that if we look at a culture of any kind that was doing something that deep into the earth back then, how did they get it done? Because today we can talk about, well, our cranes or our drilling equipment, and how, well, we have tremendous difficulty going that deep into the earth. There's a lot of things to consider logistically to pull that off. But the data is supporting something. It's not, it's right. It's not just rock and caves and different. No, there is a geometric structure that is going on here. And that is that. I don't know if the world is ready for it. I don't know. Aliens visiting this planet, I think we can
handle that, but
yeah, we can handle that, but this is certainly crazy town. Now, I want to address one thing. Trevor Grassi, until recently, Trevor Grassi has been exploring the Giza Plateau front to back, to and fro, hither and thither, for a very, very long time. He has got video after video after video of him finding shafts and construction all over the Giza Plateau. That kid is tenacious, and he has found stuff for a very, very long time. And I've told everybody for years, go and check out Trevor's videos. The dude is nuts. And he's been finding this, and now, good on him. What is being revealed supports what he has been out there doing for a very long time, right, Chris? It's incredible.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's a very energetic and passionate young man, and he's done great work. And that's what we need, it's amazing, and the way he supported the SAR scanning project is I mean, he's just a very good representative, a very passionate, very humble, and honest guy. And so, I think that there's definitely something there, and but the connection with the Great Pyramid, or the pyramids in general, is even more, I would say, in the realm of science fiction than you could imagine. And it puts the Giza power plant on steroids. I put it that way. If it turns out to be true, everything that has been published, and it makes sense to me that it will be true, but for a different reason than what has been presented so far.
And what's that? Chris?
Well, in order to explain that, let's pull up that first image of the globe. Okay. So this is a discovery by a NASA physicist, Dr. Friedemann Freund. And basically what he says is that rocks in the Earth's crust contain dormant electronic charge carriers. And when stressed, rocks turn into a battery. And so what he's saying is, this was his study on earthquake lights, because he wanted to see if an early warning system could be created by satellite detection of earthquake lights being a precursor to an earthquake happening. And he was gathering data and proving his case, even to the point of bringing in large beams of granite and putting them under pressure in a hydraulic press and measuring the electrical output of them. And so his physics, the underlying physics for earthquake lights, has been pretty much described, but at the same time, it's kind of like a new physics, a semiconductor physics, where you have peroxide defects in the minerals in igneous rock that, when stressed, they emit these positive Hall carriers, or positive Hall electrons. What happens there is these electrons shoot to the surface very, very quickly, and they seek the highest point on the surface of the Earth. And that's where they ionize the air and cause the earthquake lights. So Dr. Freund's, he had no interest in the pyramids. He wasn't trying to.
He didn't have a horse in the race. No, he didn't.
He didn't have a horse in my race. No.
Right.
He was just trying. He was just trying to help humanity by putting warning people a little sooner than the conventional way of being warned that an earthquake is coming.
Well, and so when we take the fundamental, the underlying idea here is that gravity and pressure applied, right, constant, is creating electronic discharge, a different layer.
Yeah, movement.
Right. And that's
movement in the rock. Yeah. So when the earth plates are crushing together and pressing together, then that's when the electrons are released. So when I looked at that, I asked the question, well, what if you simulate that? And not wait for an earthquake or nature to release those electrons, but create a system whereby you are stimulating the release of those electrons through using technology. And the interesting thing is that when we consider the SAR scan, you have a shaft, or these structures, or columns that go down. They penetrate the limestone layer, and they meet the igneous layer and go even further into the igneous layer, which means that they would bypass, or they go through the slag, or the impurities that would normally form on the crown or the dome of the lava, and into the pure igneous rock, and then drive the igneous rock from there, impart vibrations into the rocks in order to release those electrons. Those electrons would then shoot up to the highest point, and guess what? Well, there's a very, very nice looking pyramid there. I think I'm going to go over there. And so those clever electrons, they say, I like a little pyramid at power. And then they are encaptured in the pyramids, and the pyramid will persuade it to focus in around the center where the king's chamber is. And that science has been done by some Russian researchers that showed that the electromagnetism is affected by when it passes through a pyramid shape, like the Great Pyramid. And so what you have in the last few years is the Russian research. You have the Scan Pyramid project, and now you have the muon project, and then you have the synthetic aperture radar scanning, all pointing to one thing. That is that the pyramids on the Giza Plateau were part of a much larger system. The structures underneath the Giza Plateau were designed to stimulate the emission of electrons from igneous rock deep under the earth, which puts the Giza power plant on steroids when it comes to power generation. So that one graphic of the earth, that tells you everything. That says we are sitting on a battery, right? And the electrons that we use are right beneath our feet. And you have to reconsider how we generate electricity. We don't create electricity, we harness it, right? And so the way we have been doing so is we burn fossil fuels and boil water and blow turbine blades, and then capture the electrons off a generator and then distribute it over the wires. It's a very inefficient process. But can you imagine the amount of coal that goes into generating electricity in one particular year? I'll give you something that will make your jaw drop. 2023, I think, 23. Enough coal was quarried for use in power and generating power. Enough coal was quarried to build a pyramid 76 times the size of the Great Pyramid. 76 times the size of the Great Pyramid in 1 year. So it looks like an impossible task to actually do that work. And say, why would somebody dig a shaft that deep into the earth? Yeah, I mean, it sounds almost silly, right? But the return on investment Can you imagine when you don't have to truck a lot of coal into, or you're not piping oil or gas into the power plants, and then of course the environmental factors. But you have the end product right under your feet, and all you got to do is say, "Please, Earth, give me more electrons."
Man, we've been trying to do that forever. What a dream, right?
What a
And
dream! It's amazing.
yeah, yeah,
But here's
yeah, yeah.
another thing. Here's another mind blower for you. Take this and ponder on this. Okay, so they're getting right down into the igneous rock, right down into it. What do they do with all that igneous rock that they're digging out of there? What are they doing with all the limestone that they're quarrying out of there? Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe the granite that was used to build the King's Chamber came from underneath the pyramid and not from 500 miles away.
In Aswan. Is it possible? I knew where you were going with this. Is it possible to have the same signatures in the granite that identify it, to come from Aswan, that you could have nearly the same signature at another location?
I'm sure that there are ways to do that. I'm not sure.
I know. I've thought about that. I've thought about that a lot. Look, 500 miles. If we go with the dogma, we don't have to dwell on this at all. But if we go with the dogma, right, 75 to 100-ton blocks in the relieving chambers above the King's Chamber, coming out of Aswan, those blocks dragged across the desert at a foot per hour would take 500 years, right? And that's a good dragging, by the way. That's pretty fast. That's fast dragging. And so 500, so you can eliminate that. But then if you go to 3000 BC and consider what was being constructed by man that floated stuff, and I'm talking about boats. So a boat large enough at that time period to displace 175-ton stone is a big boat. That's a big boat. And they had, it's like, wait a minute. It didn't exist back then. Not like that. So maybe it didn't come from Aswan. So if you consider that, we're back to what you just suggested here. So is it possible to have the same signatures in the stone from two different locations? I don't know the answer to that, but the suggestion.
I think it'd be worthwhile to check that out.
Yeah, for sure. Now, okay, so let's get back to it, literally ground zero here. So what you are suggesting, coming from Freund's research, and I'll just pop this up right here. Okay, so is that based on what the Khafre project has revealed, is that from that stone that deep, 2 kilometers down, that those columns coming up are bringing the electromagnetic energy, the electricity, whatever it is, up and focused underneath the pyramids. And what some have suggested, this is where I'm going with this, is that there's spiral staircases, maybe that this represents something else, and these silos or these giant columns, 2 kilometers deep. I think it's a stretch to take it to the level of those are staircases, and there's something that it could be something else that's more fundamental, which is what you're.
It could actually function as a very large organ pipe.
What? A large what?
Organ pipe.
Like a church organ?
Like a big subwoofer.
Yeah, like a big subwoofer. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that will shake up the ground
Yeah,
a little bit.
20 hertz. 20 hertz.
No, no, it's more like 0.265 hertz.
Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
really?
it's really low, right?
Two thumps a
It's
second.
like, yeah, we're talking real rock music now, Jimmy.
Yeah. Taking Led Zeppelin to a whole nother.
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, interesting. The person who put me onto that and actually uh, uh, gave me a little more insight into the SARS is Dr. Manu Seyfadeh. I think
Mhm. Mhm.
you've interviewed him in the
Yeah,
past.
he's great. He's great.
Yeah,
He's got an amazing mind.
he's very, very detailed and particular. He's a very good researcher. And so he had done some studies and actually queried AI in terms of the length of these structures, the tunnels, or no, the shafts, uh, and there are like 648 meters deep, uh, uh, and basically at that length, they would match the frequency or a harmonic of the frequency of the ascending passage in the Great Pyramid. So there are frequency matches where they lock on with the Earth and the pyramid. So everything is kind of in harmony and in resonance together. And the end result is that you have the flow of electrons and the distribution of electrons to a technological society.
Now, overall, and this is where I like to have a little fun. I know that you've thought about this and taken your thoughts to other places. It's your job. All right. But what is the end result? What is the overall purpose? You've talked about this a lot, but let's take it further. Because if this is indeed the case, I like the way you said it. If it's true, right? Okay. If that is, we're talking about a tremendous amount of free energy. What was it used for?
Yes, I mean it will be an incredible source of electricity for any society. I think when we look at the development of technology and looking into the future, we have to get into the realm of science fiction. When you look at a cell phone and its introduction into the science fiction genre in the back in the 50s or something like that, or on Star Trek, you have these communicators where you're looking at somebody's face while you're talking to them. That was just sci-fi a few years ago. Now it's a reality. And so when you look at the development, you look at the progress of, say, Elon Musk with Tesla automobiles, and and his use of electricity. That use or demand for electricity would go down significantly if we solve the other problem that we're faced with, and that is overcoming a gravitational field. So if you have like an automobile or a car that just floats and can be propelled without very large transmissions and large motors and stuff like that, but it has some means of propulsion that doesn't need all that energy to move it forward, stop. Maybe you're looking at one of those Tic Tacs, the UAPs that fly around in our atmosphere, right? You're looking at sci-fi technology that's just beyond our comprehension. because we don't know. We know how they function, but we don't know what goes into them, what's inside, and but that doesn't mean we will not eventually, because when you are looking for ideas or trying to explain phenomenon, then you basically explore paths, unusual paths, and follow your hunches until you solve the problem. And I believe that future generations will reshape this planet in ways that we can't even imagine. Just like our generation and the current generations on the planet right now have reshaped the world to what it is right now, because it is. I go back. I'm looking at my past and my family tree and how things used to be. And it's mind-blowing, really, when you pause and think about that. And when you get older, like me, and retired, you think about that more than most people. But the future is we never know. There was a Charles Dewell. I think it was Charles Dewell. He was the head of the the patent office. And he said that he wished he could live his life over, because he would love. He doesn't know, but he can imagine the advances and the technologies that we are just on. He was just on the threshold of the changes in technology and the inventions that are coming forward. And how they will shape the world in the future. He just wishes he could live his life over again to see that. So, it's like he was towards the end of his life. And
every generation does that, don't they?
Every damn generation. Right.
Every generation. But you bring up a really good point. And I'm not ragging on Tesla, the car company, at all. But what we don't fully grasp is, yes, electric cars, those batteries get charged with electricity that is generated somewhere else.
Right.
You need to understand that, right? It comes, whether it's coal, right?
Yeah, it's
nuclear, wind turbine, whatever. We generate the energy to pump into the said electric cars, right? Pollution is created. Logistics are involved. Ships are transporting material to generate that power that goes into an electric car. Now, it sounds, Jimmy, we all know you don't. You got to understand that part. Now, what if that energy can be brought up, that is naturally created from the gravity and pressure of this planet, and that is already there beneath our feet, and we don't have to burn coal or have a nuclear power plant? Even building a wind turbine, everything that all of the logistics and energy that goes in to build the wind turbine, you got to understand, is there a return on investment there? What if it is right beneath our feet? And the way Tesla talked about free energy distribution through the ether, pumped into cars and electric planes and everything else. I think that's the end goal, and our future generations are going to be looking at just that. And it turns out that it may be right there underneath Giza, and past civilizations were already doing it. That's crazy.
Not just Giza, all across the planet. There is you look in America, and for signs of earthquake lights with a lot of activity, and there's one place in Texas, Marfa, Texas, is known for the terrestrial light displays that goes up. And so it's not just in Egypt. There are these hot spots all over the earth. the thing is that you go prospecting for them, right? And so, you'd be like prospecting for electrons instead of prospecting for oil.
Yeah, right, exactly. With dowsing rods. Yeah.
Right.
Dowsing
Yeah,
rods.
whatever, yeah.
Okay, let me. This is in your wheelhouse, but I have to ask you, the Asarian. I am mystified by that. I have been down. I've been inside it a few times, and there is something. It's not just a bunch of big blocks. It's not. There's some that is just as mechanical as the design of the Great Pyramid. What do you think the purpose of the Asarian was?
I have no clue. I mean, it's a mystery to me too. I don't know what they were using it for.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It is. It's an amazing place, amazing accomplishment. But who knows? I mean, you've got other places too, like the labyrinth, at Hawara. That's supposed to be.
That's another SARS. That's another SARS project going on right now. Yeah.
Right. So you got a lot of stuff, and we got a lot of questions. But
you go down to the Asarian, and again, everybody go to Egypt, and so you can have the WTF moments that Chris and I get when we go there, right? Because you go down to the Asarian, you stand in the middle of those giant blocks, which are beyond comprehension, their size. But anyway, you put your hands on your hips, and you just go,
right.
Right. It's beyond, isn't it? It's crazy. And you can see, I don't know what the function is, but you can see that there's a genuine purpose. You can see what's going on. It's not spiritual. There's nothing spiritual about that. That is a mechanical engine of some kind. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I kind of I have to disagree with you on that.
You think it's spiritual?
Well, I don't think we should separate the material from the spiritual. I believe that.
Fair enough.
I believe that even if you are designing and creating a mechanical device, it is not devoid of some spiritual input, whether it is what is my next move going to be in building this die tomorrow. Sure. And then in the middle of the night, an idea comes to you in the middle of the night. All those aha moments, right?
Right.
I know what to do next. And so you go in and you apply this idea that floated in your brain at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Is
that mechanical? Is that mechanical or is that spiritual?
Or is it divine? Yeah, right. Well, here's the other thing. Oh, I want to point something out to you that I found out last year when I was in Egypt. But anyway, so when you walk out of Abydos and you're at the top, and that's a beautiful, all of that, and you just go down anyway, when you walk out and then you look down into the Asarian, right? And you're looking around, you can see that everything around you is built above the Asarian. The Asarian is deep. It's much, to me, it's much older than, I guess it was Seti the First or whoever, is responsible for this other stuff. That is underground. Mm-hmm. That is, and you don't realize that. And because you see all the, what I would consider modern construction in terms of what's going on. But the Asarian appears to be much, much older. So while I'm there, the director of Abydos comes up from the Egyptian antiquities, and he comes up and he goes, "Okay, so Jimmy, come here. I want to show you something." I said, "What's up?" He goes, "Come here, follow me." We walk. Okay, so when you walk out of Abydos and the Asarian is in front of you, okay, right? He takes me to the right, and up on top of the hill above Abydos and above the Asarian. And he goes, look at that over there. I said, what is it? He goes, Chris, I'm not on all that I love. We found another Asarian. I said, what? And I'm looking, and then I could see all of the wheelbarrows, all of the workers, right? A couple of it was about a mile away.
Yeah.
Up on the hill. They found a second Asarian, and they're doing the dig right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah. What is going on? So again, exciting times in Egypt.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely amazing. So, in terms of where you are at right now, what do you think is going to be revealed with SARS, with Hawara, and everything else? Are we looking at a ginormous, intricate, interlocked system? Tunnels and labyrinth, okay, yeah, but something else that served a greater function. Is that possible to reveal in our lifetime? But is that where we are at right now? Is that what you think is next?
I think definitely physical exploration for features that have been discovered through muon detection or the synthetic aperture radar. To have, be able to have your hands on it and examine it, physically examine it, measure it, photograph it. Now, the moving towards that, which is, I think that should be the goal of everybody. That would depend on politics and the willingness of the people who are in charge. On how quickly that happens. And traditionally in the past, as you have counted the years between Gant and Brink's first exploration, it was almost a decade later before there was another, and then it was a decade after that when there was another. So, you're talking about a very, very slow evolution and progress in terms of driving towards that goal. The issue, I believe, is that you have these what we consider to be technological artifacts. The pyramids, they had a technology, a purpose related to technology, fall under the purview of the Ministry of Antiquities. So there seems to be some movement towards a kind of a cooperation between the ministers who are more technically focused and then the archaeologists or Egyptologists. There is such as the lead on the Scan Pyramid project is Dr. Haney Halal. And he was the Minister of Science and Higher Education in Egypt. He's also an engineer. So I met him and I explained my theory to him, gave him my book, and we had a very nice conversation over coffee one day. And then Hamada Anwar, who is also on the Scan Pyramid mission team, was in the meeting, and we talked about the function of the Great Pyramid. And Haney asked me what it would take to actually restore the Great Pyramid and have it working again. So I was like, I was quite surprised. I was quite blown away that, being asked that question by somebody in the government, right, of Egypt. Because I remember that my first trip to Egypt, I took a copy of my article that was published in Analog Magazine. It was called Advanced Machining in Ancient Egypt. And at the Cairo Museum, I gave it to the curator at the Cairo Museum, and he took it, opened a drawer, just threw it in there, and wished me good. I never heard anything from it, and so it's like, you go from that, and then from all the acceptance of these ideas, and then also, when I wrote my second book, the Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt, I made an appeal to Egyptian engineers to go out and take measurements for themselves. And lo and behold, a young man came forward and did just that. His name is Ahmed Adli. He's an engineer, and he created a YouTube channel, and his videos have received millions of views, and he's become very well known in the Arab-speaking world, because the Egyptians and other countries in the area, the Arabic countries in that area, are absolutely loving hearing about the advanced nature of their ancestors.
I have I've noticed one thing. When you talk to which you have and I have, but when you talk to the directors of these different sites, okay, those that are in charge, employees of the government and the Department of Antiquities, that you can talk to them privately, and they are not completely, but they are definitely open-minded to alternative theories.
Mm-hmm.
Publicly, and what they say publicly, they still have to toe the line. But when you talk to them, and they honestly, this is not a joke. They want this stuff to be revealed. This is where funding comes from. This is where tourism comes from. This is where interest from universities around the world comes from, and other governments and support. And that's exactly what they need, is to have this stuff revealed. And I think that they're okay with it in a general sense. You know what I'm saying, Chris? I think they have a very open mind to it.
Yeah, I mean, Ahmed had notified me of some news program on Egyptian television that was presenting my latest book, Giza, the Tesla Connection. They were talking about it, and there are other Egyptologists who are actually supporting my work. And also, there is now a Al-Kama publisher in Cairo who have contracted to. They've got the translation rights to publish my book in Arabic. So I'm really happy about that. So yeah, the activity has just exploded. It's a revolution. It's a total revolution.
Chris, I want to take the time right now to personally thank you on behalf of the community and all of your hard work and everything else, and your contributions to this planet. Just thank you so much. It means so much to all of us. All right. So just on behalf of the community, I just want to just take this time to just thank you and all of your hard work over the years. Just thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're the absolute very best. I look forward to our next conversation. What's going to happen next week, Chris? I mean, it's just like, man. So congratulations. This is all exciting. You're a big part of all of this. And again, I look forward to our next conversation. The links for Chris are below. Go and explore his books, and everything else that you need is right there in the description box below on our website and throughout social media. And yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Could I also mention two things?
Sure.
One is the Freedom and Freud has a YouTube video. If you search for the name Freedom and Freud, Christchurch, New Zealand, there is a TEDx lecture that he gave in Christchurch, which he does an excellent job. It's very understandable. And the other thing is, don't forget the Golden Pyramid, or the Global Pyramid Network Conference in Wadsworth, Illinois, at the Golden Pyramid. I'd like to see you there.
Yeah,
going,
absolutely. Well, no, I'm going to be in San Diego that weekend with another conference, but we've been talking about that conference over the last week. And so, yes, absolutely. And I'm from Chicago. I wish I could, but yeah, I'm going to be in San Diego, but we've been promoting that conference for all of you. So yeah, have a good time out there. And just, man, Chris, keep rolling that rock uphill, my man. Thank you so much.
Yep. All right.
I'll talk to you soon, Chris. Thank you, my man.
All right. Take care now.
The best. Christopher Dunn. We've got Chris's links below. And of course, the conference in Chicago, which is September 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. And we've had the links up for that, and we will continue to do that. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is going on? Oh man, when I'm at that point of the show, when I just said what's going. Oh yeah, tomorrow night, George Haas is with us. We're going to be talking about what's on Mars. That is tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black. There you go. We got a great week coming up, and for now, until tomorrow night, all I've got is go back, Lee Tappy. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.